is the bell, and they step out, both men cautiously, and there's sparring around in the center of the ring there. Neither man, Lewis lashed out with the left hand, but very light, just lashed out with the left, and Max Schmeling sent over a hard right, but it was short. Once more, this sparring in the center of the ring. Schmeling backed up a few feet on him there. Lewis is in the center, both men cautious. Neither one has shot but one or two blows apiece so far, and they've gone about 15 seconds. Still there, and Lewis led with the left, but was very light. Max Schmeling tried with the left also. No damage done. He has colored Schmeling's eyes just a trifle. And once more, Lewis lashed out with the left hand that caught Schmeling, but not hard. Schmeling tried with the left, and he came in close in a clinch. They're both trying the 4 light uppercuts, but no damage done, and quickly broke at the command of Donovan. Lewis stands in the center of the ring. Schmeling is over near my neutral corner here. Schmeling tried with the left, and then he came through with a hard right to the body, but Lewis tied him up, and they're in the center of the ring once more. Now Schmeling in the center of the ring. Lewis over toward his own corner. Lewis lashed out with one of those fast lefts, just like it had the speed of a Buick there, but it hasn't yet produced the power. And once more, Schmeling in the center of the ring. Lewis lashed out with the left hand, but was short. Schmeling tried with the left, and Schmeling tried with the right, but was short. Lewis was back out of the way from it. No ducking. He didn't duck, just stepped back and was about an inch away from the punch. Lewis tried with the left hand, but it was short, and Schmeling came in under and tried with the left. There are 2 lefts, but they blocked each other at arm's length. Once more, Lewis in the center of the ring, Schmeling over close to the ropes, and they're sparring and weaving both gently. Now Lewis with the left, feinting. No, neither man will leave. Lewis tried, and then at close quarters, he came in with a hard right to Schmeling's. The back of Schmeling's head was right behind his ears. And there, at the bell, Lewis brought up a hard right uppercut.
More of the 1936 Joe Louis-Max Schmeling fight ahead. See how the heavyweight from Germany became the first man to floor the bomber. Then the historic rematch. Joe Louis lets his fist do the talking and silences the Nazi propaganda machine.
Right to the body, a left up to the jaw, and Schmeling is down.
Also ahead, Louis becomes the first black heavyweight champion since Jack Johnson. Longtime social activist Dick Gregory with ringside commentary on how Joe became a symbol of the civil rights movement. And don't miss trash-talking 2-ton Tony Galento sounding off. Heel moi to the bum. The rotund contender stuns the champ with a series of left hooks. All ahead on Ringside. This is Ringside, a marathon of Joe Louis big fights. We return to the 1936 bout against former heavyweight champion Max Schmeling. It's round 4 at Yankee Stadium. Here's Clem McCarthy.
Schmeling comes forward. Lewis meets him, and Baer. And Baer at the bell. Schmeling stepped out slowly to the center of the ring. Lewis came just as cautiously. And in the center of the ring, they're both sparring and feinting with left hands, but nothing doing yet for about this first. They've been in there 8 seconds now, and not a blow has been landed. Each man feinting with his left. Lewis tried 3 times there with the left to draw Schmeling in, but no chance. Schmeling stepped back. Then Schmeling led with a light left to the face, but no power behind it. And now Lewis shot a hard left to Schmeling's jaw, and in return, Schmeling got over a left to Lewis's jaw, and then a right to that was intended for the jaw, but missed and slid off his shoulder. Now in the center of the ring, Lewis with Schmeling over in the other neutral corner, and Lewis let him have a light left hook high on the ribs. And back in the center of the ring, Schmeling led with a left, but was very low, and he didn't try to finish the blow. And to step back to the center of the ring, Lewis keeps following him up and watching carefully. No change in Lewis's expression. There he got out that straight left. Schmeling backing away cautiously, waiting for some opening that he wants. And Schmeling got over a right hand high on Lewis's jaw that made Lewis rock his head. Schmeling has sent Lewis down. No, Lewis is down. He did not wait for the count. He got up on the count of 2. Schmeling came back at him and gave him another right. Schmeling is pouring in now, and Lewis for the first time is getting the real test. Schmeling gave him another right to the jaw. Schmeling has put in 4 rights to Lewis's jaw. They're on the other side of the ring, with Schmeling following him as quick as a cat, and all the power of a Buick in those right hands. Schmeling's right hand is going to tell the story of this blow for Schmeling, win or lose. And at the bell, they're still trying to fight. Schmeling resisted. Lewis trying to come through.
For the first time in his career, Joe Louis was on the canvas, courtesy of Max Schmeling's big right hand. He didn't stay there long, bouncing back up immediately. But bedlam had erupted around Yankee Stadium. Suddenly, the crowd and Schmeling sensed an enormous upset was possible. We'll have more of the epic first encounter between Joe Louis and Max Schmeling when ringside Joe Louis continues on ESPN Classic.
Now, there's the bell. They step out. And Louis is slow to come from his corner. Blackman giving him one last caution. Schmeling shoots a hard, fast right to Louis's face. Another to Louis's face. Louis is a dazed, tired, bewildered fighter, and Schmeling is fighting him to the side of the ring. Louis is right above me, and he's a tired-looking fighter. Schmeling has all his well-known stamina. He there led with 3 straight lefts, Louis did, and Schmeling countered with a left, then Louis with another left, and Schmeling with a left to the body. No damage in any of those reaching blows. There, Louis shot a left to Schmeling's jaw, and Schmeling backed away. Louis missed another one to Schmeling. Then Schmeling sent over a right hand that seemed to make Louis's legs wobble, but Louis rallied, and he's still in there. And Louis is crowded Schmeling to the ropes, and there was a hard exchange at close quarters with Schmeling driving over a hard right to Louis's body. But Louis follows him around the ring and keeps shooting that left hand once more. There Louis missed with a hard right uppercut that had plenty behind it. So far, I must say that Max Schmeling has taken every blow that Joe Louis can shoot at him with either hand. And I can't say quite so much for Louis at this stage. But there, Louis came in with a left hook to the body just above the belt, and it carried power. But Schmeling backed away and then shot hard right hands high on Louis's jaw and made Louis give ground. This is the greatest heavyweight fight we've seen in years. Right there in the center of the ring, Schmeling bobbing and weaving, trying to get away from Louis. Louis still with all that power, and he's got the power. No, but Schmeling's all over. Now, they're still trying to fight after the bell. They refuse to break.
Stay tuned for more of the 1936 Louis Schmeling fight from Yankee Stadium. Angelo Dundee and Bert Sugar return to ringside with analysis of Max's plan that doomed the Bomber. And later this hour, Joe Louis gets his chance at the title, taking on James J. Braddock, the rags-to-riches fighter who Russell Crowe played in the movie Cinderella Man. I'm Brian Kenny, and welcome back to ESPN Classics ringside Joe Louis from Gleason's Gym. The first Max Schmeling fight was one of the defining bouts of Louis's career. Schmeling had knocked down Louis in the 4th round with a devastating right hand, and the former world champion had continued to pound away at the undefeated Louis with that devastating right-hand shot. It was a weary Joe Louis that answered the bell for the 10th round.
Slim, pick it up, the bell. Here they are. Louis late getting in. Louis almost didn't get his mouthpiece in, and Schmeling is going on. And Louis tried to back away. He's caught Louis napping here, fussing with that mouthpiece. Schmeling let Louis have a hard right to the jaw, and Louis stepped into a clinch. Louis now led with a left and tried with a right. He pushed Schmeling away with his left, and at close quarters let Schmeling have a right to the jaw, a right uppercut to the jaw. There was another left hand by Louis, low on Schmeling, and the referee cautioned him, and the crowd is booing Louis. And now Louis shot over a left to Schmeling's jaw. And Schmeling retaliated and is driving Louis to the rope, fighting him with rights and lefts, with Louis trying to tie Schmeling up. It's Schmeling, then Louis have a left to the face, a right to the face, and left and right. Louis has practically no defense at this moment, but there he came through with a good hard right to Schmeling's jaw, just below the eye. And stepped back, and Schmeling let him have right and then left, and Schmeling missed with a hard right to Louis's jaw, then straightened him up with a left, and backed away. And now in the center of the ring, Louis is feinting at Schmeling with his left hand, and Schmeling trying with his left, and then backing away from Louis's left. And there at close quarters, they exchange rights and lefts to jaw and body. Now in the center of the ring, Schmeling is right directly in the center, and he got over a left to Louis's face there. The two fighters straightened each other up with left hands. Schmeling in the center, and he shot over a hard right to Louis's jaw. Louis took the punch and came back with a left hook to Schmeling's jaw, then a right hard on the head, and then Louis missed with a very weak right hand that made Schmeling laugh despite his closed eyes. And then Schmeling stepped back, and Louis tried to follow up with a left to the face and then a right. And now at close quarters, Schmeling missed with a right uppercut, and Lewis straightened out with a left hand. Then Lewis missed with a left hand. Schmeling tried with a good hard right, but Lewis was inside of it with his left and hit Schmeling on the jaw. Lewis followed up Schmeling and peppered him with left hands to the jaw, but Schmeling took them and tried to get in a right at close quarters. Lewis brought over a hard right to Schmeling's jaw, and Schmeling stepped into a clinch. Now in the center of the ring, Schmeling and Lewis are sparring. Lewis tried first with left and then with right, and Schmeling tried with left, and they both missed. Now, once Lewis is in the center of the ring, and Lewis shot a left hand that carried nothing, then Lewis hit Max twice, full in the face with his left hand. Schmeling shot that right hand to Lewis's jaw. Then at close quarters, they exchanged hard rights to the jaw. Now Schmeling in the center of the ring, and Lewis shot over a left overhand to the high on Schmeling, missed with a left. Lewis tried with left and right, and now in the center of the ring, they're sparring, and Lewis led out with a left that carried nothing. There's the bell.
Coming up, it's curtains for Joe Louis as Germany's Max Schmeling finishes off the Brown Bomber in a shocking upset at Yankee Stadium.
And Lewis is down. Lewis is down, hanging to the rope, hanging badly.
Later, Dick Gregory joins Angelo Dundee and Bert Sugar with the spectacle of the rematch, as Schmeling and Lewis find themselves center stage in a fight that crossed into the politics of Nazi Germany versus democracy. This is Ringside on ESPN Classic from Gleason's Gym in Brooklyn. Welcome back to Gleason's Gym. I'm Brian Kenny alongside Burt Randolph-Sugar and Angelo Dundee. Ringside, Joe Louis. Once again, widely regarded as the best finisher in boxing history, Joe Louis looked indestructible until he faced Max Schmeling in 1936. Joe Louis answered the bell for the 12th round, facing defeat for the first time in his professional career.
And Lewis was slow coming out of his corner, trying to adjust the glove. Now in the center of the ring, Lewis standing there and feinting with his left hand. With his right, he is trying to cut off Schmeling's left hand. And Schmeling shot a hard right to the jaw, but Lewis was inside of it, and it did very little damage. Lewis in the center of the ring, Schmeling with his back to me, and Lewis forced into this corner. Schmeling dances back. His footwork is very much better than Joe's. Joe's is not only a shuffle tonight, but it's very slow and very little of it. Now Lewis shot a left, but Schmeling stepped inside of it and gave Lewis a left to the jaw and missed with the right. Then they gave each other left hands to the face. No damage done. Now they're sparring once again. And again, Lewis shot in a left hook to Schmeling low under the belt. And Donovan cautioned Lewis, and Schmeling stepped back, and Donovan had to warn them to go on and fight. And Lewis, bewildered by Donovan's instructions, stepped into Schmeling there and let him have hard rights and lefts to the jaw, followed by a terrific right to the jaw. And he stepped into a clinch, and Donovan broke them. Now in the center of the ring, Schmeling got over a right to Lewis's jaw. Lewis in return gave Schmeling a hard left hand to the face and then a right. And once more Lewis is peppering Schmeling's eye, first with left and then with right. And Schmeling is stepping into clinches at every opportunity, while Lewis is following him up with good short rights and lefts. And again, the referee had to break them. Schmeling in the center of the ring, Lewis following him up and lashing out with his left hand every now and then. And there was a hard left to Schmeling, but Lewis came back and gave Lewis a terrific right hand to the jaw. Lewis ducked, put up his gloves. Schmeling bent low and tried to bring up a right uppercut to straighten him, but he missed and came up on the side of Lewis's head. And then, at close quarters, Schmeling stepped back and shot a hard right hand to Lewis's jaw that landed flush and made Lewis step into a clinch. And Donovan broke them. Schmeling got over two more hard rights to Lewis's jaw and made Lewis give ground. And there Schmeling straightened up Lewis with hard rights and lefts to the jaw. He has puffed up Lewis's left cheek, and Lewis is down. Lewis is down, hanging to the rope, hanging badly. He is a very tired fighter. He is blinking his eyes, shaking his head. The count is done. The fight is over. The fight is over. And Schmeling is the winner. Lewis is completely out. They've had to lift him and carry him to his corner. And Joe Jacobs wants to put on a special fight of his own. He wants to fight anybody, but they're carrying Schmeling back to his corner.
So this is stunning. I mean, this is after, and you watch enough, and now if you're watching our boxing marathon, you get to see Joe Louis clearing house and cleaning out the heavyweight division, and now he gets destroyed, Bert. How does this happen?
Well, several things happened. Number one of which is Max Schmeling had a plan, and his plan was simply to wait for Lewis to lower his left after he had jabbed. He would drop it. The second was to take anything and everything for the first rounds until he could throw that right. And how he did that was he held his left out, cupping it around his chin. So while Lewis was jabbing him, he couldn't get to the right hand to him. And he was closing Schmeling's eye, first round completely. Schmeling landed the right for the first time in the second round. It was to be the first of 54 right hands that landed flush. And Lewis remembered nothing after the fourth round.
Really?
He was knocked down. He said he remembered nothing. In fact, afterwards, somebody said, "Do you want to see the films of that fight again?" He said, "I saw the fight." But he really hadn't.
You know, Angelo, you watch fights, and if you watch the later fight, you see Schmeling doesn't have that same aura. But on this night, you know, a fighter seemingly, he looks bigger than he really is. And Schmeling looked that part on this night. I mean, how strong, Bert mentions the right hand. It was a strong, tight right hand every single time out. What did you think of Schmeling on his best night here?
Well, his best night, he's doing a move on Joe, dipping. Now, when you got a guy dip, you tell your guy, take a walk to the right, get away from the right hand. And Joe, look at the shots. He's not taking the shot. He took shots from Baer right on the banana. He didn't budge. What a different Joe Louis. So every fight is different. Different guys fighting different guys. You never know what can happen in boxing. That's what's intriguing about it.
Yeah, you were telling us while we were, coming back here that sometimes a guy you say indestructible. Next time,
no,
right, not the same guy. And
No.
Joe Louis isn't. And also, we have to give credit, Max Schmeling isn't. Schmeling was magnificent on this night.
Schmeling fought the fight of his life. This was it. The Germans had thought that he had no business over there. Remember, this is the same year that the Olympics and their Aryan supremacy. He was going over to lose to a black man. All of a sudden, he became a national hero. He had beaten the black man. He had beaten Joe Louis.
Look at Schmeling.
The words, the invincible. Look at him. He's jumping.